Yo, it's Ibetonme. Now, before anyone gets the wrong idea, I love Marathon PvP. The player versus player tension is one of the biggest reasons I play this game. The fear of hearing another team nearby, the panic of when you're carrying good gear, the decision between fighting, hiding, or just getting out. See, that's Marathon to me. But yesterday, man, I spent 2 hours playing the new Vault Breaker PvE mode, and I had a completely different kind of fun. I could take my time inside Cryo Archive. I could actually look around. I could focus on vaults, the puzzles, the enemies, the environment without constantly wondering if another team is about to delete me from the back. And no, I'm not saying Marathon should become a PvE only game. That's not the point. And besides, Bungie already confirmed that a full PvE mode is coming in Season 3, but we don't know all the details yet. But Vault Breaker gives a first real look at what PvE focused Marathon experience could actually feel like. And after playing it, man, I think Bungie may be on to something. So let's talk about it. Now, Vault Breaker is Marathon's experimental PvE playlist. So you enter Cryo Archive solo, with a duo, or with a full crew. And there are no enemy runner teams hunting you down. Instead, you're dealing with vaults, the puzzles, the AI enemies, the escalated difficulty, and the extraction itself. And the mode has its own progression system. Vault data is the important resource. Now, the gear you find during the run does not simply become your normal extraction loot. And that makes the mode feel different from a standard Marathon run. Also, Vault Breaker is only available for 2 weeks. Now, that does not mean Bungie is testing PvE and then walking away from it. The full PvE mode is going to be in Season 3, and they already have confirmed it. But what Bungie has not told us is what the mode actually includes. See, we don't know the maps, we don't know the progression structure, we don't know whether it is going to use permanent gear. We don't know how much the normal extraction economy will carry over, and we do not know whether it's going to be a separate activity or a major part of Marathon's future. And that is why Vault Breaker is very important. Because it's temporary, but it's also the first playable test of the idea before Season 3 arrives. So the question is not whether Vault Breaker is the finished PvE mode. See, it's not. The question is whether the experimental gives Bungie the right foundation to build on. Now, before someone starts typing, just go play another PvE game, let me stop you right there. This is not what I'm saying. I do not want Marathon PvP removed, I do not want every map turned into a safe zone, and I definitely don't want the game to lose the tension that makes a successful extraction satisfying. Because PvP is what gives normal Marathon runs their teeth. See, you can have a perfect plan, you can have the right weapon, you can have a backpack full of loot. And then one player or team could hear you before you hear them, and suddenly their entire run changes. That unpredictability is great. See, that's the sauce. But not every player wants that pressure every single time they load into a game. And every player who loves PvP may sometimes want to experience the map differently. And that is what happened to me in Vault Breaker. See, I was not replacing PvP, I was taking a break from one type of tension and enjoying another. Because there's a difference between relaxing and playing a game with no danger. However, Vault Breaker still has danger. You can still get overwhelmed, you can still make bad decisions, you can still waste time, you can still push too far and ruin the whole entire run. But the difference is that I was not also trying to predict a human player hiding around every corner. And sometimes that breathing room is exactly what Marathon needs. And the biggest difference was simple. I had time. I had time to understand what I was looking at. I had time to process the rooms. I had time to think about where I wanted to go next. I was also not instantly asking myself whether another runner had already heard that door open. See, Cryo Archive is not a small map, so there's a lot of rooms, paths, vaults, puzzles, enemies, and visual details competing for your attention. In a normal PvP, a lot of that gets compressed because you are moving quickly, you are checking angles, you are listening for footsteps, you are thinking about extraction routes, you are trying not to get caught in the open, and see, that makes the game exciting, but it also means you miss a lot of what the map is trying to do. However, Vault Breaker gave me that chance to slow down and experience Cryo Archive as a place, not just as a combat arena, not just as a map where I might lose my good loot, but as a location with its own atmosphere, rhythm, and problems to solve. And that part I did not expect. See, the mode did not make Marathon feel less like Marathon. It made a different layer of Marathon easy to notice. The sound design, the environmental storytelling, the way the vaults gradually become more dangerous, the feeling of pushing deeper because you know the next room could be worth it. Or it could completely ruin the run, and that feeling is still there. See, it's just not being interrupted by enemy runners every few minutes. And for me, I found that genuinely enjoyable. Not because PvP is bad, I love PvP, but because sometimes I want to play the game instead of constantly preparing for the next fight. Here's where Vault Breaker gets something importantly right. It gives Marathon a lower anxiety way to teach itself. Because a lot of extraction games assume players will learn by getting destroyed. So you enter, you make a mistake, you lose your gear, you get ambushed, you load back in, and eventually you either improve or decide the game is not worth the stress. That is a brutal onboarding experience, and it worked for some people. But it also pushes away a lot of the players before they even understand why the game is special. And Vault Breaker gives those players room to learn the language of Marathon. You can understand the map, you can learn how the vault functions. You can also get comfortable with the weapons. You can see how the AI behaves. You can figure out which areas are dangerous without having a human squad instantly punish you for not knowing that information already. See, all that matters because Marathon can be fascinating and frustrating at the exact same time. The gunplay is strong. The world is interesting. The extraction loop has real tension, but the learning curve can feel like being thrown into traffic. And Vault Breaker gives players a chance to understand the systems before asking them to survive the full anxiety of PvP extraction. Honestly, I think this is valuable even for players who eventually want to play PvP. See, a player who understands Cryo Archive is more likely to return to the normal runs. A player who understands the weapon is more likely to experiment. A player who is not confused during their first 10 hours is more likely to stick around long enough to become a real Marathon player. See, this is why this mode matters. This is why this is just not a separate playlist. It can be an onboarding tool. It can be a practice space. It can be a way to let players appreciate the world before they are forced to survive in its most stressful versions. And if you're enjoying this breakdown, do me a favor and hit that like button. It helps this video reach more Marathon players trying to figure out whether Vault Breaker is worth their time. Also, drop a comment down below and let me know where you stand. Do you love Marathon PvP? Would you play a permanent PvE mode? Or do you think Vault Breaker removes too much of what makes Marathon special? Hey, I want to know what you guys think. Alright, so now let's talk about the downside, because to me, it's pretty obvious. Now, Vault Breaker is fun, but it does not feel like a complete long-term PvE ecosystem yet. And that's okay, because Bungie never presented this as a full Season 3 PvE experience. This is an experimental version. The problem is that we only have 2 weeks to properly evaluate it. Now, 2 weeks is enough to create some urgency, but it's not necessarily long enough to understand the long-term loop. Because players are going to need time to build habits around a mode like this. They need time to improve. They need time to bring friends into the game. They need time to figure out whether the progression is actually rewarding. And that matters even more now that we know that the full PvE mode is coming in Season 3. And Vault Breaker is supposed to give Bungie useful information. But the shorter the testing window means the less time players have to show Bungie what they actually want from it. And the other issue is the reward structure. See, in normal Marathon, extraction is meaningful because you take something valuable out with you. You find it, you protect it, you make it home. But Vault Breaker changes the relationship. See, you can find weapons and gear during the run, but the bigger goal is the vault indexes and the mode specific progression. See, that can work, but it also means the emotional payoff is different. Because you're not necessarily thinking, okay, I need to get out with this weapon. You're thinking, I need to complete this run so I can improve the next one. And that's more roguelike than traditional extractions. And I'm not saying that's automatically bad, but it makes the mode feel separate from the main game. Now, it feels like Bungie built a testing ground where players can experiment PvE Marathon before Season 3 gives us a larger vision. And that's fine for an experiment, but the permanent mode will need more than a temporary playlist and a progression tree. It's gonna need a reason for you to keep coming back after the novelty wears off, because once players understand the routes, the real question becomes, what am I building toward? Alright, so who is Vault Breaker actually for? If you already love Marathon PvP, you should still play it. Not because PvP is going away, not because Vault Breaker is secretly better than a normal extraction. Play it because it gives you another way to spend time in this world. You can learn Cryo Archive, you can test weapons, you can bring in a friend who is not ready for the full PvP pressure. Also, you can take a break from losing gear without having to take a break from Marathon. So if you stop playing because every run became too stressful, hey, this mode is absolutely worth checking out before it disappears. And if you're curious about Marathon but did not want to jump directly into the PvP extraction, hey, this is probably the best, cleanest way for you to understand the atmosphere and the gunplay. But I would not pretend that Vault Breaker alone is the full answer. It's not the permanent Season 3 PvE mode. It's a preview of what the mode could become. See, we still do not know how much bigger Season 3 PvE will be. We do not know whether it will include bigger maps, or will it include multiple maps. See, we don't know how progression will work. We do not know whether the rewards will connect directly to the normal extraction economy. So this mode should raise your interest. However, it should not replace your expectation for the full version. But if you're already on Marathon, you're trolling yourself if you don't at least try Vault Breaker while it's available. But let me be very clear. Vault Breaker should not be the end of this idea. It should be the proof of the concept. Season 3 is where Bungie has to show that this could become a real pillar of Marathon. That means more than one map. It means deeper enemy variety. It means progression that feels permanent and worth investing in. It means rewards that matter outside of the playlist. It means better onboarding for players who are still learning how the game works. And eventually it needs a way to preserve the tension of extraction without forcing every bit of that tension to come from another player. Because there is still a lot of room between completely safe PvE and every run ending because a better squad hurts your reload. See, Bungie can build in that space. AI controlled running style enemies, create dynamic objectives, harder vault paths, optional high risk encounters, different difficulty levels, and a reason to push deeper even when you're not fighting another player. And that is where the idea gets exciting to me, because Vault Breaker can give players the slower, more controlled version of Marathon, and Season 3 needs to give that experience more depth. More locations, more meaningful choices, more reasons to take risks, more reasons to come back after the first week. See, the point is not to turn Marathon into a completely different game. The point is to let more players experience the part of Marathon that PvP pressure can sometimes hide. And Vault Breaker has given us a glimpse of that, but now Bungie has to prove that they can scale that idea into a permanent mode. Alright, so after about 2 hours with Vault Breaker, here's my verdict. I love Marathon PvP. That is not changing. I do not want PvP removed. I do not want every run becoming calm, predictable, and completely safe. But I also enjoy playing Cryo Archive without worrying about enemy runners. I enjoy taking my time. I enjoy paying attention to the map. I enjoyed focusing on the vaults without constantly expecting a squad to appear behind me. And that tells me Vault Breaker is doing something special. Now, it's not proving that PvP was a mistake, but it is proving that Marathon has more than one type of tension available to it. The PvP extraction loop, oh yeah, that's still my main event. But PvE gives the game room to breathe. And now that Bungie has confirmed a full PvE mode for Season 3, Vault Breaker feels more important than just a temporary event. It feels like a preview. It's a test. And maybe it's Bungie trying to show players that Marathon can be more than constant PvP anxiety. But the problem is we only have 2 weeks to experience this version. And to be honest with you, I thought it should have been free to play. So if you're on Marathon, play Vault Breakers before it disappears. If you love PvP, you might be surprised at how much you enjoy this change of pace. And if you've been waiting for a proper PvE mode, treat Vault Breakers as an early look at the direction, not the finished product. Bungie has not solved Marathon yet, but they have already confirmed that the larger PvE mode is coming in Season 3. And after playing Vault Breaker, oh yeah, I'm more interested in seeing what that mode becomes. Also, do me a favor and drop me a comment down below. Do you want Vault Breaker to become a permanent mode in Marathon Season 2? And also, what do you want to see from the confirmed Season 3 PvE mode? More maps? More enemies? More progression? Or do you think Marathon should just stay focused on PvP extraction? And again, I am Ibetonme, and I'm out. And if you guys do want to see more Marathon breakdowns, I would suggest you watch this playlist next. Also, don't forget to like and sub. You guys have a great day. Peace.